The president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, presented the idea of creating an indivisible security system in Eurasia on the third day of the meeting with other Brics members. In Lebanon, the Israeli regime's armed forces carried out new attacks against the area of Kushia and the suburbs located southeast of Beirut. The Syrian Ministry of Defense denounced two attacks by the Israeli regime against Damascus and in an area bordering Lebanon in the province of Homs, causing deaths and injuries. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the TeleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We will be with the news. Stay with us. The president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, presented the idea of creating an indivisible security system in Eurasia on the third day of the meeting with other Brics members. The Russian head of state highlights that this system should be built on an inclusive and non-discriminatory basis. Putin argued that it is about ensuring security, common efforts, stability, and setting out conditions for the breakthrough of all states and peoples in Eurasia. The leader further stressed that Russia, as other Brics members, is open to working in conjunction with the countries of the Global South and is to boost inclusive and sustainable development in order to build a better world. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Brics leaders agreed to continue discussions on the list of partner states and on the progress about a common payment system. The Russian president offered a detailed balance on the last 3 days of meetings in Kazan and said bloc members are open to those nations sharing their values. Putin also pointed out that this country uses its own financial systems, as did other bloc members, and called for deepening the working agenda.
Different leaders have focused on different partnership objectives and partnership expansion criteria, mainly in 3 directions: politics and security, trade and investment, and culture and the humanitarian field. Based on tradition, we held the event in the framework of the Brics Plus format, which has worked well, with a good platform for joint work with our partners and with the countries of the Global South and the Global East.
The president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, remarked that the member countries of the Brics are focused on the economic strengthening of the bloc and the Global South.
We confirm the readiness of all our countries to build a multipolar order based on international law and the UN Charter, which has set the readiness to fight against illegitimate sanctions and based on traditional values. The Brics countries are aimed at strengthening cooperation in the financial banking sphere. We're going to strengthen banking communication and creation of financial mechanisms. We have agreed with our colleagues on different efforts to stimulate economic growth of the Brics countries and the Global South and the Global East.
The Russian president explained that the escalation of the Ukrainian conflict grew after the financings of arms by the Western countries.
As for the escalation of the Western countries, they started to actively arm the Kiev regime, and the consequence was the direct participation of the military of the NATO countries in the conflict. Because we know what and how it is done with the launching of drones and unmanned vehicles in the Black Sea, who is present, which NATO countries, and how they carry out this work. The same has to do with the military instructors. I do not mean other military. As for the use of missile attack,
En cuanto al uso de misiles, ATACMS, los militares ucranianos no pueden hacerlo sin el sistema.
the Ukrainian military cannot do it without the satellite system and Western system, only with the direct participation of NATO officers.
Directa de los oficiales de la OTAN.
The Russian president stressed that the Middle East conflict could be resolved by rooting its cause out, one of them being the absence of a full-fledged Palestinian state.
In relation to the situation in the Middle East today, I have already said it, and I repeat it. I believe that there is no person in the world who is not hurt by what is happening in Gaza. More than 40,000 people have died, especially women and children, and everybody knows how that concerns us. We have already said how this conflict can be solved, only by rooting out the causes. And the main cause is the absence of a full-fledged Palestinian state. We have to comply with all the security decisions. We have to work with all the parties involved and keep the conflict from worsening.
The Russian head of state also expressed his support to the Venezuelan government in its struggle for its sovereignty and democracy, and urged Venezuela and Brazil to resolve their differences in the framework of bilateral discussions.
There are electoral procedures, and elections need to be won. And we believe that President Maduro won the elections, and he formed his government, and we wish success to his administration and to the Venezuelan people. I trust that Brazil and Venezuela clarify their relations in the framework of bilateral discussions. I believe that President Lula is a man of honor, and that he will deal with this situation objectively as this situation demands.
Venezuela released a statement thanking the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and its country for inviting the president Nicolas Maduro to the Brics Plus summit in Kazan. In the statement, the government declares that Venezuela has support of the countries participating in the summit to formalize its entry into the integration mechanism. But through action that contradicts the nature of the Brics, the Brazilian Foreign Ministry delegations, led by the Ambassador Eduardo Paes Saboya, decide to maintain the veto that Bolsonaro applies on Venezuela for years. Reproducing the hate, the exclusion, and the intolerance promoted by senators of Western powers to prevent, from now, the entry of Bolivar's homeland to the organization. Finally, the statement closed by affirming that the Venezuelan people is ashamed of these unacceptable and immoral aggressions from the Brazilian Foreign Ministry that maintains the worst of Jair Bolsonaro's policies against the Bolivarian Revolution founded by Commander Hugo Chavez. Let's take a very short break, but remember, you can now join us on our TikTok account as TeleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum highlights as important news the continuation of the electoral process for judges, magistrates, and ministers. During her usual press conference, Sheinbaum qualified the constitutional reform to the judicial authority as an important achievement as it is the decision of the Mexican people. Likewise, she said that the actions of the Natural Electoral Institute to suspend the activities are unconstitutional and therefore unfeasible. In addition, she celebrated the resolution of the Electoral Court of the Judiciary that orders the National Electoral Institute to continue with the election process. In Mexico, at least 3 people were injured after the explosion of vehicles in the municipalities of Acámbaro and Recuaro in the state of Guanajuato. According to the authorities, the first explosion took place in the vicinity of a building belonging to the Security Secretary of the government of Acámbaro, while the second unit with explosive devices detonated in the center of the city of Recuaro, and no victims have been reported so far. In Argentina, on Thursday, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Santiago Cafiero, accused the government of Javier Milei of the surrendering of the country's sovereignty after the official document referred to the Maldives Islands as a Falklands. The reference appears in a draft communication by the defense minister after a meeting with its head, Diana Mondino, and the vice president of the International Committee of the Red Cross. The Argentine territory was mentioned by the term coined by the United Kingdom, prompting a controversy among citizens, which led to the document being deleted in the aftermath. Also in Argentina, the government of President Javier Milei announced a new budget cut for public health, this time for the patients with sexually transmitted diseases who receive free treatment. According to the local media, the government affirms that as of 2025, the cut in funds for this area of care against HIV, STDs, viral hepatitis, and tuberculosis will be at least 76%. Likewise, the National Fund for the Health of People with HIV added that the state cabinet announced that drugs for sexually transmitted diseases will be also withdrawn from the country's pharmacies. These measures might cause a number of infected people to exceed the current 140,000, which had been maintained thanks to the campaign against HIV promoted in the year 2023. In Bolivia, authorities continue cracking down on the dengue outbreak of the 27 municipalities. The Deputy Minister of Promotion and Epidemiological Surveillance, Max Enriquez, ensured that this week they have taken actions to control particularly dengue and avoid its spread. The authority granted that the governmental plan of action includes both training of treatment of patients and the delivery of basic inputs for the handprint transmitter. The Haitian administration asked the United Nations for the peacekeeping forces to strengthen its plans against criminal groups operated in the nation. The Presidential Council requests the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to transform the multinational security support mission. In this regard, several local media outlets assured that this new mission will allow government authorities to provide multiple resources to reach peace. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch an interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. One financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Lebanon, the Israeli regime's armed forces carried out new attacks against the areas of Shoifat as a blockade southeast of Beirut. Local media reports indicate that Israeli fighter jets launched bombing raids not only on several districts in the vicinity of Beirut, but also in the district of Jiro in the south of the country. In addition, another Israeli attack was also reported, which mainly targeted the vicinity of Hared Kreik, an area in the southern suburb of Beirut suburb of that Hiyad. This bombing came after the Israeli Defense Forces spokesman for the Arab media issued a warning urging residents of the southern suburb of Beirut to evacuate the area. The Iraqi Defense Resistance launched its drones on Thursday at strategic military targets in the Jordan Valley and occupied Palestine in response to the aggressions of the Israeli regimes against the civilians in the region. This way, the resistance reaffirms its commitment to intensify attacks against Zionist forces, assuring the actions are part of the struggle against the occupation and in support of the people of Gaza and Lebanon. Relatedly, the group reported on Wednesday 5 operations against Israeli targets in the area, including the occupied Syrian Golan and the central occupied Palestinian territories. As Israel continues to launch airstrikes in Lebanon, France has pledged a $180 million package to support Lebanon at an international conference in Paris on Thursday. President Emmanuel Macron said massive aid was needed to support the countries which is facing a growing humanitarian crisis. The conflict between Israel and Lebanon has resulted in the death of more than 200 and 500 Lebanese. It has also caused the displacement of more than 1 million people and aggravated the country's economic crisis. Macron also reiterated his call for a ceasefire as he condemned the Paris conference to raise the $426 million the United Nations says is urgently needed to help Lebanon. France hopes financial pledge by participants at the conference will meet the amount called for by the UN. The Syrian Ministry of Defense announced 2 attacks by the Israeli regime against Damascus and in an area bordering Lebanon in the province of Homs caused deaths and injuries. The Syrian institutions reported that the attack was launched in areas close to the military and civilian facilities and near the diplomatic mission of Egypt in the nation. Likewise, the state that a guy missiles hit a military vehicle, causing 2 martyrs and 3 wounded. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the recent terrorist attacks in the Turkish airspace industries facilities in the city of Ankara. Through a communique, Guterres sent condolences to the victims and their families for the blast that left at least 4 dead and several wounded. The incident was perpetrated on Wednesday, October 23rd by 2 terrorists who had been neutralized by the Turkish authorities. The World Health Organization reported Africa has recorded 134 new polio cases in the last 7 countries as the world marks World Polio Day. The regional director of the World Health Organization from Africa, Mogadishu Moeti, stated that the circulating variant of polio type 2 has been detected in Burkina Faso, Cameroon, the Central African Republic, Chad, Mali, Nigeria. Over the last 5 years, polio cases in these regions have more than doubled, and routine children's immunizations rates have decreased from 75 to 70%. A worldwide drop in childhood immunization rates has resulted in a rise in polio outbreaks, even in nations that have been free of the disease for many years. For its part, UNICEF and its partner have ramped up emergency measures to address the increase in polio cases. In Spain, citizens rally in front of the several health centers in Madrid against privatization and in defense of public health. Demonstrators raised their voices against the president of the Community of Madrid, Isabel Díaz Ayuso, for not complying with the measures agreed with the unions. For its part, the health union warned that they will take the necessary actions to enforce the measures agreed with the government. And moving on, Cyclone Dana makes a landfall in India eastern coastline with sustained winds of 110 kilometers per hour. According to the Indian Meteorological Department, the storm made landfall on Thursday night off the Odisha coast and is expected to remain inland until late Friday morning. Coastal areas have experienced a wind speed of 100 to 110 kilometers per hour with heavy rains, but no major damage or casualties have been reported so far. Almost 600,000 people have been evacuated from the high-risk zones, while airports some localities have suspended operations until 9 a.m. on Friday. Schools have also been shut down and train services have been canceled on parts of the country. The cyclone is expected to weaken gradually on Friday and is move further inland. We have come to the end of this brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English and from the South of Marrero, thank you for watching.
There are events